Wow, Oklahoma football is absolutely terrible. I do think people expected Oklahoma to take a step back or be in somewhat rebuild mode in year one under Coach Venables, but no one, not even arch rivals fans, predicted they'd be this bad. Venables now has the worst conference start for any Oklahoma coach in school history. This was the most lopsided game in Red River rivalry history, and Oklahoma football has problems in every single area on the field. They just got dismantled 49-0 by Texas, and in today's video, we're going to talk about this game, what has gone wrong for Oklahoma, why they're such a mess, and talk about how I expect them to finish the year. But before we get started, if you enjoy college football videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button as we're also on the road to 100K. Leave a like if you want to support the channel, give me your thoughts and comments down below, and turn on notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's get started. Coming into the game, Oklahoma was in a very weird spot. They easily won their first 3 games, but then the Kansas State game was a turning point. Both Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn ran all over the Oklahoma defense, and after a couple of late scores, Kansas State would upset Oklahoma and Norman. At the time, the Sooners were ranked number 6, and many thought this was still a good Oklahoma team. This past weekend had one of their most lopsided defensive performances ever, as TCU brought them to the woodshed and put up nearly 600 yards of offense. Oklahoma went from number 18 to out of the polls, and this became one of the weirdest Red River rivalry games ever. For the first time in a long time, both of these teams were unranked, and they'd now have to be without their star quarterback Dillon Gabriel. After a brilliant career at UCF, Gabriel transferred in to be the first quarterback for Coach Jeff Lebby and Coach Venables, but after a dirty hit by a TCU player, he was not able to play today. Oklahoma instead had to roll with Pittsburgh transfer Davis Beville at quarterback, and to say he was awful is an understatement. He ended up going 6 of 12 for 38 yards and 1 interception. He couldn't move, couldn't throw the ball downfield, and seemed to be so incredibly lost that this was one of the worst performances I've ever seen out of a starting quarterback. At some times during the game, they even played in the Wildcat formation. The team finished with 39 yards and 2 interceptions. Everything they did do came on the ground. Farouk had 60 yards, and then running backs Eric Gray and Javonte Barnes combined for nearly 90 yards on the ground. In total, Oklahoma only got 11 first downs, had 195 total yards, and had 2 turnovers. What's even crazier, as they only had 6 minutes less of time of possession than Texas did, and they didn't manage to score a point. The Sooners are now 3-3 and have dropped to 0-3 in conference play. Kevin Durant even called out Coach Venables on Twitter, and for Texas fans, this was a great day to be alive, and for Oklahoma fans, it's a day that they want to forget. The game was absolutely abysmal, and I have 5 takeaways for Oklahoma. 1. Coach Venables may be on the hot seat going into 2023. I'm going to meet in the middle. There are some fans who want him fired now, and there are other fans who say give him 3 to 4 years. I'll meet you guys in the middle and say that there's potential for him to be on the hot seat going into 2023. If Oklahoma does not make a bowl game and they continue to play as awful and as bad as they currently are, then there is no reason to think that there will not be extreme pressure on him. Venables has plenty of experience at both Oklahoma and Clemson, and for someone who claims to be a great defensive mind, his defenses have absolutely looked atrocious, and it used to be a meme that Oklahoma didn't have a good defense, but this is even making those defenses look like all pro level defenses. Venables has to figure this out, as ultimately it's on him. Yes, there were a ton of starters to replace, and yes, there are a lot of inexperienced players playing, and yes, you don't have your star quarterback in Dillon Gabriel, but this is unacceptable for how bad they have played. This is Oklahoma football. They usually sign the best recruiting class in the Big 12. They have plenty of athletes on the field, and there's just absolutely no reason for them to be playing this bad. If they don't make a bowl game, Venables will be on the hot seat going into next year. Another question I'm asking is what's going to happen with Jeff Lebby. He's been praised as one of the top offensive coordinators and quarterback gurus in the game, but if this season continues the way it is, are they going to fire him, or what's going to happen? That, I don't really know. My second takeaway is Oklahoma's defense is just absolutely terrible. I mean, Quinn Ewers did return for his first game since Alabama, and I do like Texas's offense, but I don't think anyone expected them to be this bad. They are not getting any pressure on that defensive line, and the secondary is just allowing big play after big play. Even when they do something right, they're continually not making tackles, and it just looks like the players are completely confused and don't understand the scheme. Today, Texas put up 585 total yards, including 289 passing yards and 296 rushing yards. Texas beat them both ways, and no matter what they did, Oklahoma could not stop it. Better yet, Texas only had 2 penalties all game and only had 1 turnover. Quinn Ewers was just having fun out there as he completed 21 of 31 passes for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns with 1 lone interception. Bijan Robinson once again had a big night against them as he ran the ball 22 times for 130 yards and 2 scores. Jordan Whittington and Jatavian Sanders both caught 5 passes, and Sanders had 2 touchdowns. Both Xavier Worthy and Keelan Robinson also had a score, and this defense is bad. This is also not an outlier, as it was the same story for both TCU TCU, and Kansas State. My third takeaway is Oklahoma does not have a quarterback. While I think Dillon Gabriel was a fine one-year rental kind of player, I never viewed him as the long-term Oklahoma quarterback, and I'm wondering what Venables is going to do now. While Gabriel will more than likely return soon, just the lack of talent behind him is very alarming, and I don't even know what they're going to do. Davis Beville is not a starting quarterback, and General Booty didn't even see the field, so he's obviously not great either. The only glimmer of hope for them right now is currently Nick Evers. He was a late rising quarterback who was a 3-star who originally committed to Florida but then would flip to Oklahoma, and he got a couple of plays at the end of this game. But Evers is definitely the future of this team, and if things continue this way on offense, there's no point in not rolling with him. Overall though, Oklahoma does not have a quarterback. Fourthly, they're probably going to miss a bowl game. When you take a look at their schedule, they obviously won their 2 easiest games against UTEP and Kent State, and then also took care of Nebraska. That was a decent win, but so far they've already dropped games to K-State, TCU, and Texas. The Big 12 is looking historically good this year, and with the way they're playing right now, it's honestly hard to find another win. Kansas is a good team, and despite what anybody says, they're going to be tough to beat next week. After that, you have to travel to Iowa State, who is also another good defensive team, but they have just not been able to win these close games, and it's going to be hard to win at Jack Trice. After that, you get Baylor, who's very well coached, has a winning record, and is good on both sides of the ball, before you have to travel to West Virginia, who right now is probably the second worst team in the Big 12, but with them desperately needing a win and them being at home, that's going to be a 50-50 game as well. After that, you have Oklahoma State, who right now looks like the best team in the Big 12, and they are amped up with it being the last Bedlam game. And then you finish on the road against Texas Tech, who has a great offense and is the very team that beat Texas last week. When you look at that schedule, I see one win. That'll either come against West Virginia or Iowa State, and in that case, Oklahoma is going 4-8. Right now, there's a chance they lose every single game remaining on their schedule, but to make a bowl, they have to win 3 of those, and the only possible way I could see that happening is if somehow they can catch Kansas next week and then win at both Iowa State and West Virginia. Either way, things are looking very difficult for Oklahoma moving forward, which leads to my last point, and this is the worst start of the century for Oklahoma. Venables now has the unfortunate honor of being the first Oklahoma coach to start 0-3 in conference play, and these last 2 games were not even competitive. Losing to K-State was one thing because for some reason they're cursed against them, but getting drilled by both TCU and Texas is absolutely embarrassing. Texas had lost 6 of 7 matchups coming into this game. Texas had lost 6 of the last 7 matchups against Oklahoma going into this game, and now this is the biggest win in the history of the rivalry, overtaking a 45-12 game in 2005. Overall, Coach Venables has been very disappointing this year. Oklahoma doesn't have a quarterback, the defense is historically bad, they're off to an awful start, they were embarrassed on a national stage, and things have to change soon, or Oklahoma is going to be headed in a bad direction as they head into the SEC. But what do you think? If you're an Oklahoma fan, what the heck is going on with this team, and what are your thoughts moving forward? If you're a fan of another school, what do you think of this Oklahoma program? And let me know what player, topic, team, or situation I can cover in my next video. Before you go, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.